The Mysterious Old Radio Listening Society podcast.
Welcome to the Mysterious Old Radio Listening Society, a podcast dedicated to suspense, crime, and horror stories from the golden age of radio. I'm Eric.
I'm Tim.
And I'm Joshua.
We love mysterious old-time radio stories, but do they stand the test of time? That's what we're here to find out.
Today, we return to the listener library for a suggestion from our mysterious listener, Kai, who writes,
How about a little Box 13? Most are great. A few are terrible.
In a clever move, Kai left it up to us to choose the episode. And by us, I mean me. So I decided to play it safe and start with the debut episode, The First Letter. Let's hope it's not one of the few terrible ones.
Box 13 was created by Mayfair Productions and starred Alan Ladd as novelist and adventurer Dan Holliday. Ladd also owned Mayfair Productions and co-wrote most of the scripts with television and screenwriter Russell S. Hughes. The series began airing in syndication in October of 1947. In total, Mayfair produced 52 episodes. The final installment of the series, Round Robin, aired during the summer of 1949.
Box 13 also starred Sylvia Picker as Dan's secretary, Susie, and Edmund MacDonald as Police Lieutenant Kling. Notable guest stars on the series included Betty Lou Gerson, Lorene Tuttle, Alan Reed, Louis Van Ruten, John Beale, and Frank Lovejoy. The series was directed by Vern Karstensen, who also served as announcer.
In 1954, Ladd attempted to bring Box 13 to television. Russell S. Hughes, who was working for CBS at the time, adapted one of the Box 13 radio scripts, Daytime Nightmare, for an episode of General Electric Theater. Ladd reprised his role of Dan Holliday in the hopes of selling the episode as a pilot television series. Unfortunately, the network wasn't interested. In 1964, Ladd announced plans for a feature film adaptation of the series, but sadly he passed away a few months later and nothing ever came of the project.
But that wasn't the end of Box 13. In 2010, the series was revived as a comic book. Published by Red 5 Comics, this reimagined version of Box 13 was written by David Gallagher and illustrated by Steve Ellis. The series transformed Dan Holliday from a mystery novelist to an investigative journalist whose life changed forever after uncovering the secrets behind CIA's MK Ultra project.
And now, let's listen to The First Letter from Box 13, originally broadcast in October of 1947.
It's late at night, and a chill has set in. You're alone, and the only light you see is coming from an antique radio. Listen to the sounds coming from the speaker. Listen to the music, and listen to the voices.
Box 13, with the star of Paramount Pictures, Alan Ladd, as Dan Holliday.
Box 13, Box 13, Box 13, Box 13, Box 13.
Well, this is great. Rain, rain, rain. I'll bet even the ducks wouldn't come out in weather like this. But me, I'm an idiot. I gotta go and take up a profession like being a writer. I couldn't take up something easy. Oh, no, not me. I gotta be a writer so I can be out on nice, cold, wet nights, beating my brains out, looking for an idea. Idea. Deadline. Oh, sure. Mustn't forget that ever-loving deadline. What a way to make a living. I could have stayed a reporter at the Star Times and had nice assignments, like listening to political speeches or covering the opening of a new manhole. Oh, no, but not me. I have to write fiction. Do it the hard way. Well, I might as well take the usual hand, open the usual door to the usual place, and hear the usual comments.
Hi, Mr. Holliday.
Hiya.
Coffee boy. Hiya, Dan.
What do you say, Ed?
Smith, editor wants you.
How goes it, Holliday?
Oh, pretty good.
Where's the makeup on page 4?
Hi, Mr. Holliday.
How are you?
Hiya, Mr. Holliday.
Hello, Susie. Anything in box 13?
Box 13, starring Alan Ladd as Dan Holliday. Now for Box 13, starring Alan Ladd as Dan Holliday.
What a character I am. Standing here in front of the want-ad counter in a newspaper office while the rain runs down off my coat collar into my shoes.
Mr. Holliday,
I gotta ruin my last pair of... Huh? What's that, Susie?
I said there's a message in box 13 for you. Here,
Oh. Thanks, Susie.
don't mention it. Say, aren't you going to open it?
Sorry. Not here, Susie.
You know, you got all of us down here at the Star Times awful curious, Mr. Holliday, running that ad.
Have I?
You've been running it for months. Why don't you change it?
Well, I haven't read it for so long, I've forgotten the words. How's it go?
Don't you remember? Adventure wanted. We'll go any place, do anything. How about that?
I still like it.
You'd do a lot better with adventure if you ran your picture with the ad.
Oh, no, thanks. Just keep on running it the way it is.
But gee, aren't you ever going to tell us what you do for a living? Why you keep running that ad?
Susie, same old question, same old answer. No. Well, if I'm not doing anything else, at least I've got the people at the Star Times curious. They'd think my brain cells were 10 feet off first base if they knew why I really run that ad. Maybe they are. You can help a person out of great trouble and gain an adventure for yourself if you call Chester 8945 and ask for Carla Williams. Chester 8945. Carla Williams. Sounds like an interesting name. Well, I hope she's home.
Hello?
Oh, this is the man from box 13.
Oh. Tell me, are you serious or was that ad just a joke?
No joke, Miss Williams.
Are you willing to try anything?
Well, that depends. What's on your mind?
I can't discuss it over the phone. Will you meet me?
Of course.
There's a little French restaurant down on Ledge Street. Meet me there in the cocktail lounge.
What time?
Make it 10 o'clock tonight. Tell the bartender you want to speak to Carla Williams.
French restaurant on Ledge, 10 o'clock. Oh, what block number?
The 600 block. You won't fail me. You'll be there.
Lady, if it were winter, I'd come with bells on. This sounds like the beginning of a very interesting story. Beautiful woman in distress calls on struggling writer for help. Only she doesn't know I'm a writer, and I don't know she's beautiful.
What's yours, mister?
Oh, I'm looking for a Carla Williams.
Oh, yeah. She's sitting over there in that front booth.
Thanks. Carla Williams?
Yes.
Oh-ho. Carla Williams could be material for a love story or an adventure story. Or, maybe both.
And, do you have a name?
Oh, yes. Dan Holliday.
Sit down.
Oh, thanks.
I'm, agreeably surprised. I didn't think a person would get such a satisfactory reply from a want ad.
And I didn't think I'd get such a nice replier.
You're wondering about me, aren't you? You're wondering why you're here.
Naturally.
Well, I'm being blackmailed.
That's a very nasty business.
I've been paying blackmail for 5 years, but tonight's the end. I'm to meet him in 15 minutes and make the final payment and get the letters.
Well, that sounds like the end of your troubles.
But is it? I can't be sure. That's why I need your help.
But what can I do?
Well, you can be there as a witness. You can make sure this is the end. You can see that I get the letters and get away safely.
Lady, you need the police.
Why? To make sure everything I've kept hidden for 5 years comes out in the open?
Maybe a friend could do it.
My friends would be the last ones on earth I'd want to know. Are you afraid?
No.
You advertised for adventure?
Blackmail isn't my idea of adventure.
I'm sorry if my trouble doesn't measure up to your expectations. It's the best I could do on such short notice.
Uh-oh. Well, I guess I had that coming.
Maybe this isn't your idea of adventure, but I do need help. I need help badly. Let's leave it at that.
Now, that might appeal to my early Boy Scout training.
Then you will?
I always help ladies across blackmail raps. What happens if your friend makes trouble?
We can't make any trouble.
He seems to have done all right for the past 5 years.
There won't be any trouble if you're along. Here, reach under the table. Take this.
Oh, now, wait a minute. This is a gun.
Put it in your pocket. Don't let anyone see it.
This is supposed to make everything all right?
Well, you won't need it, believe me. I thought it would make you feel better.
It makes me feel like a policeman. And I still think a policeman is what you want.
But you promised.
I said maybe.
I have to meet him in 15 minutes. Please help me.
Where do we go?
His apartment.
Far from here?
We can make it if we leave now. What do you say?
Maybe I should never have been a Boy Scout. Now watch Carla Williams closely as we ride over to the apartment where she's to meet this man she's been talking about. She's perfectly groomed with a certain niceness about her, except for those twin furrows of worry between her eyes and a cold look of anxiety. I don't think I would like to have her angry at me, though.
That's funny. You should have been here 20 minutes ago.
Why don't you try the door?
It was unlocked.
Might as well wait inside. Unless you have any objections.
Not at all. There's a light switch on your right. The living room is straight ahead.
Say, you sound like you're familiar with the place.
Why not? I've been here many times before.
There's a light on in there. Suppose he might have fallen asleep?
Waiting for his money? Hardly.
Well, this is more like it. This spot is nicely furnished.
With my money. But at least we can sit down and make us... Oh, no.
Miss Williams, what's the matter? What happened?
The floor by the desk, look.
You stay here.
Well...
You'd better call the police. He's dead.
Dead?
Yeah, he's been shot. Once. Through the heart.
I'm glad.
He's the one? The man who was blackmailing you?
Yes. Could you go through his pockets? He must have some of those letters with him. Look in his coat pocket.
Just a minute, Miss Williams. You don't understand. This man has been murdered. We've got to call the police.
Murdered? What makes you so sure?
There's no gun around any place.
Just the same, before the police come, his pockets. Please, I've got to have those letters.
Okay. But it isn't right. Are these what you wanted?
Let me see. Yeah. They're all here.
Now, where's the telephone? We've got to get the police up here and fast.
There is no phone.
No? How do you know without looking unless...
I told you I've been here before.
Oh, yes, I forgot. We'll go downstairs. There's a payphone in the lobby. Tell the police to come up here right away. Then come back and we'll wait for them.
You're not planning to leave while I'm downstairs, are you?
No. Here's a nickel. Just dial low and tell the operator you want the police. Hurry.
But you'll be here.
Call, I said. I wanted adventure, so I put an ad in a newspaper. And I certainly found what I wanted. Only this isn't good. The man is lying dead on the floor of this apartment. And Carla Williams and I will have to get down to the police headquarters and answer 1,000,000 questions. All of them embarrassing. I hope she's made the calls. Say, that's funny. Why would there be a telephone directory in a place where there's no phone? Or maybe there is one. Of course, right here in the hallway. I wonder why she said there was no phone here. Maybe it's been disconnected.
Operator. This is the operator.
Oh, fine. I've written a dozen stories like this. And whenever I've reached this point, the hero always finds that he's been framed. Framed? The gun. Yeah, I gotta look at that gun. Gotta find out if it's been fired. One shot has been fired. And the police surgeon will probably find a bullet from this gun in that dead man's body. The police. Seems like little Carla took care of that. Me, I'm gonna take care of something else. I'm leaving.
You are listening to Box 13, starring Alan Ladd as Dan Holliday. Once again, Box 13, starring Alan Ladd as Dan Holliday.
Well, right now I'm wishing I were half as smart as the heroes of some of my stories. I've got a murder, a strange woman, a strange apartment, and a strange feeling that this might not work out to a happy ending. What I need is a cab, a quick trip home, a short drink, and a long, long think.
Sure is a rotten night to be out.
Yeah, it sure is.
I never seen such rain.
Not so good.
Cops are sure busy tonight.
Sounds like it.
Wonder who they're after.
I wouldn't have any idea.
Could be a murderer, you know.
Yeah, just could be.
Just a night for a murder.
Perfect.
How come you got so wet?
It's raining.
I know, but how come?
My umbrella needs recovering.
You want the Normandy arms?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's your building up ahead, but it looks like you got lots of company.
What do you mean?
Them's prowl cars, mister. All over the place.
Oh, this is very nice. Carla Williams called the police and must have mentioned my name in passing. I'm the type of interesting young fellow that any cop would like to meet, especially with a murder weapon in my pocket. Tonight, Mr. Holliday, I think you will sleep elsewhere.
Want me to pull right in where all them cops are?
No, they look busy, so maybe we'd better not bother them. Just keep on driving.
But this is where you live, ain't it?
I don't feel like going home tonight.
I could shove them cops aside, you know. This is legitimate hack.
That would be fun, but don't bother.
You're the boss, mister. Where to?
There's a place down on Franklin Avenue. 1612, I think.
I know that place. That's the cheapest hotel in town.
Yes, I believe it is.
Hey, how do you know about a place like that?
I got information there for a story.
But a joint like that, what are you going there tonight for?
To sleep.
You writing another story?
I'm living one.
Living one?
Yes, I left my typewriter at home.
Mr. Holliday. To what do we owe this great pleasure?
Maybe you're just lucky.
More research on the seamier side of life?
No, not tonight. I'm looking for a room.
A room? Might I remind you, Mr. Holliday, this ain't the Roney Plaza.
Have you got a room?
Any particular exposure you might like?
The less, the better.
I'm sure we can fix you up. That is, if you're willing to pay in advance.
Buck and a half, how much?
$25, Mr. Holliday.
$25.
And if you committed the murder, it'll be $50, Mr. Holliday.
Come on, talk straight.
I don't want any trouble with the police.
What makes you think I'll cause you trouble with the police?
Little box called the radio, police calls. They're a lot of fun to listen to, Mr. Holliday.
Yeah, I'll bet they are.
You'll be comfortable here and safe.
I'm beginning to wonder if I could afford it.
With your money? Don't make me laugh.
I wasn't trying to. Where's your phone?
The one on the wall costs a nickel.
Thanks.
You're staying tonight, Mr. Holliday?
Hello?
You got back there in a hurry.
You. Where are you?
Still in town. What about the police? They with you?
What do you think?
Thanks for putting in a good word for me.
I had to. They made me. Look, I want to talk to you.
I know that feeling. I want to talk to you, too.
I can explain everything.
Like a gun with one bullet fired?
Yes.
A missing telephone that wasn't?
That, too.
Oh. Then you're just the little girl I want to have words with.
Can you come over here right away?
Are the police there?
Oh, that's right. Name a place, I'll meet you.
The corner of 6th and Victor, 10 minutes.
Right.
Follow me, Mr. Holliday.
Oh, where to?
Your room. This ain't the Roney Plaza, but the service is just the same.
I've changed my mind.
You're not staying?
Your rates are too high. I'll drop in again after I've made a fortune. Now I know how the fox feels when the hounds are closing in. Someday I'll have to write a story about a fox. Put that guy Burgess and his Peter Rabbit out of business. Hey, cab!
Oh, it's you again.
Yeah, I get around, don't I?
I thought you were set for the night.
No running ice water. 6th and Victor.
Where did you say you wanted to go?
6th and Victor.
But there ain't no place to sleep there.
Oh, I'm not sleepy. I just want to examine a fire hydrant.
Okay, mister. I'm glad it's your money and not mine.
If we keep on, it will be your money.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Say, is that tonight's extra lying up there?
Sure. Want to take a look at it?
Oh, yeah, thanks.
That picture they got of you on the front page is lousy.
What picture?
You look like you was facing the camera through a screen door.
Yeah, let me see that. Well, this is just wonderful. Prominent writer named by police. Carla Williams accuses Dan Holliday of the murder of Harry Granger. Grief-stricken girl witnessed the murder of her fiancé. Well, nice going, Carla. It's your word against mine, plus the evidence against me. Now I know why they wrote that song, I Get Along Without You Very Well.
Well, there's 6th and Victor.
Cruise on by.
You ain't gonna stop?
I haven't made up my mind.
Looks like a couple of cops waiting around for somebody.
It's the way it looks to me.
That might be the law.
Yes, they might be.
What do you want to do now?
Get away from here and find a city directory. A chap by the name of Harry Granger should have a home, and he should have stayed in it. I'm either just ahead of the police or right behind them. And if this game keeps up much longer, I'll be right with them.
Yeah?
Oh, Harry Granger live here?
He did. You the police?
Well, no, not exactly.
A reporter?
I used to be.
Come here, you. I wonder if you're one of them blackmailers.
Just a minute, friend. My coat rips easy.
No, I guess not. If you were, you wouldn't be here.
Mind if I step in?
Come in, come in. This whole thing's got me all upset.
You don't say. Oh, you said something about a blackmailer.
That's what I'm here for. I came to help Harry get rid of those rats.
You mean he was being blackmailed?
For 5 years. I lent him most of the money to pay off with. I told him he was a sucker, but it looks like I got here too late.
You heard what happened?
Saw it in the papers on my way from the station.
Have you told the police?
Not yet, but I'm going to. Who did you say you were?
I didn't say.
You know something about this?
I think I do now. I began to see the light when the city directory listed this place as Granger's apartment.
Can I help?
You might get into trouble.
Well, how?
Breaking into a woman's apartment. After this, I'll use a fire escape, and more of my stories are the most interesting things about a building. The men from homicide will be out in the hall seeing that no one comes in here. You'll have to work fast, Holiday. You'll have to find something that the police weren't looking for. There must be something. Bills, letters, cards, that's no good. Look for the obvious. That's what I always have my hero doing. Let's see, what's the obvious? Oh, the living room. Now, let's see. That's where the body was. Nothing obvious there. On the desk. No. The table. No. The fireplace. Hello. A small frame snapshot. And I think it might be just what I'm looking for. My old friend, the bartender, and Carla Williams. And with your arms around each other. You know, you two make a nice couple, a wonderful couple. I wonder if they'll let you have your arms around each other in the electric chair.
You are listening to Box 13, starring Alan Ladd as Dan Holliday.
Well, I finally made it. I'm down at police headquarters in the office of a tall, gangly character named Lieutenant Kling. Of course, a few things have happened. Carla and the bartender were brought in, too. So much cooler than I am. Oh, those cell bars give you such fine ventilation.
Holiday.
What's that, Lieutenant?
I said you were a very lucky citizen. After what Carla Williams told us, we thought you were guilty.
If she'd have told me that story, I'd have believed it myself. But proving that she and the bartender were married put a crimp in her act as the injured fiancé.
Yeah, you showed it up as the same old racket. Smart woman teams up with smart man to blackmail innocent citizen. But just the same, I think you should stick to your writing and let police work alone.
Lieutenant, I'll have that printed and framed in blonde walnut.
Hanging on the wall?
No, around my neck.
I'm glad to hear you say that. You may not always have a guy like this Grant who backed up your story.
Oh, Granger's friend?
That's the one.
Say, he's a nice fella. Wants me to visit him on his ranch.
Why don't you do that?
Riding the range all day when I could be cooking in town?
Pardon me. Homicide, Lieutenant Kling. Oh, yes, he's here. It's for you, Holiday.
Oh, thanks. Hello?
Mr. Holliday, this is Susie.
Yes, Susie.
Can you come down to the Star Times right away?
Oh, what's the matter?
There's another letter for you in box 13.
Oh, no.
Should I open it and read it to you?
Oh, not now, Susie. I've got enough material to last me for a month. 3 weeks of which will be a rest.
Tell me where. Maybe I can come down and help you.
You really want to help me?
Sure I do, Mr. Holliday.
Then put that letter back in box 13.
But, Mr. Holliday...
Good night, Susie.
Next week, same time, Alan Ladd stars as Dan Holliday in Box 13. Alan Ladd appears through the courtesy of Paramount Pictures and may currently be seen in Wild Harvest. Box 13 is written and directed by Ted Hediger. Original music composed and conducted by Rudy Schrager. This is a Mayfair production.
That was The First Letter, from Box 13 here on the Mysterious Old Radio Listening Society podcast. Once again, I'm Eric.
I'm Tim.
And I'm Joshua.
We've had an interesting off-air conversation that all of us have something we're jonesing to say about this. And I have a lot I want to say about this. And I'm going to acquiesce to Joshua to start us off with the conversation.
Well, I just wanted to share my process for choosing this particular episode, since our listener did not, and I hope we didn't murder your name. I sent this person an email asking how to pronounce it, so we were like, it's K-A-J.
It's Steve. That's how it's pronounced.
It's a
Steve.
silent K-A-J.
Yes.
Well, in the past, when we introduce a new series to the podcast, particularly one with a recurring protagonist, when I have felt deputized either by myself or a listener to choose an episode, I have often gone through and listened to half or more of a radio series to pick one. I'm thinking of things like Broadway is My Beat, Frontier Gentleman, Night Beat. And after all that work and searching in the hopes that I can find something that is both representative of the series, but also something that has some elements that will please both of my co-hosts. After all that, most of the time, it ends up in the podcast equivalent of a sad trombone sounder from the two. So this time, I decided, screw it. I am just going to start
at the top
with the debut episode.
Right.
And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do a classic Eric move. I just said, let's do the first episode. I didn't even listen to it.
Attaboy. Attaboy.
Yeah, let me get my trombone out here.
Sure. I'm just going to send it out.
Keep your trombone where it is.
But clean the spit valve.
But also, like Eric, I have some retroactive justification for my laziness that I'm going to try out on you guys.
Yes.
Which is a pilot episode should accomplish the things that I am always sweating my way through an entire series to find the one that accomplishes. In
Correct.
that it should be somewhat representative of what you can expect from this series, and it should work in some way to hook the listener, obviously, to listen to more past the first episode. So that is why I just went with the first episode, and I'm sorry if this is one of the few terrible ones.
So, first and foremost, I want to thank Josh for picking this out of the listener library. Box 13 has been on my list for a very long time to listen to. One of the weird things about Box 13 is I keep getting it confused with Cabin 13.
B13?
Cabin B13, which was that suspense episode they did many times, and then it spun off into something else. I forget the whole story, but it doesn't matter. I keep getting them confused and keep thinking, oh, Box 13 is a spin-off from that, and it's not. They're not connected. So I've never really listened to it. So this gave me the opportunity to sit down and finally listen to one of these. And before I delve into this episode and what I thought of it, this is what I texted to you guys and never sent because I realized you got to save it for the podcast. I demand that we do this one live on stage, this particular episode. It is absolutely perfect for a live performance. It has great characters for all four of us in the Mysterious Radio Listening Society. It fulfills everything that you need from a live performance, including a great premise. I didn't know what the premise of this was, and I love this premise. The person that wrote 39 Steps, whose name eludes me, it was a series written by Sapper, I believe, based on a World War I veteran who came back named Richard Hannay. And as happens to many veterans, are bored with life because they've been through so much adventure. And so he takes out an ad in the paper saying, please give me some adventure. Please, please, please. Anyway, the point is that this premise of taking out an ad in the paper and saying, I would really like some adventure, could you help me out, isn't new. So I love that part of it. In this case, it's a man trying to write novels, and he's looking for inspiration for these novels. I love the recurring characters that are set up in the top of this with Susie, or whatever her name is, that he comes in and everybody knows who he is, that he reports to this mailbox and decides to go out and pursue or not pursue what people have sent him. Alan Ladd's a great actor.
I do like Alan Ladd.
I love what he does. I love his performance in this. And here's something I'm putting out to you two and to the listeners. Apparently, Alan Ladd, in his early years, when he was first discovered by his agent got him into a leading role as the Green Hornet in one of the serials, and I can't find it. I can find all the other Green Hornet serials, but I can't even find a mention of the serial that he was in.
Did it ever get produced, or did he get cast in it and for some reason it wasn't made?
Okay,
'Cause I've never
this
heard
is why
that.
I'm saying, will you please do the rest of the work for me? I got bored, and I didn't go past the first Google page.
All right, we'll find out, or maybe a listener can tell
But
us.
I love this episode. I love the pace of it. It's full of problems, but you know what? Not problems that I can't get over. And I'm so excited to say this. I have to do this on stage.
Well, both Joshua and Eric have now said those things that they said, I need to say this thing first of all.
Yes.
And when they said, we have these things we need to say first of all, I felt like I also needed to have a thing that I needed to say first of all. And now that it's time, I don't really have a thing I need to say first of all.
Well, what was your initial thought?
Well, my first initial thought was, Alan Ladd is so good.
Yes, he is.
Oh, my Lord.
Yep.
I mean, it's a very good quality script and story, but it could have been a lot worse, and I'd still like it.
Yep.
I am so relieved because honestly, this is the first time I've ever sent something without listening to it. And honestly, I listened to it and I was like, wow, exactly, Tim. Alan Ladd is so good. And then as the story went on, I went, oh no, because I thought the script really petered out and ended on a bit of a damp squib. But I am very happy.
Yeah, anything I can do
enjoyed
to reinforce you to, like, in the future, just take a blind stab and see what we think.
So it's interesting what you say about the story, Joshua, but before we move on, would you guys agree, I just need to know, that doing this particular one, Box 13, this particular episode on stage would be fun or not?
It would be fun. I think there are probably better
episodes,
Box 13 episodes. I'm not opposed to Box 13. I will tell you some of the things that I found distracting, unintentionally funny, and or disappointing about this script.
Okay, because I love the characters. I loved how many there were.
I love the characters. You're right. There's a lot that I love about this, too. I don't want to misrepresent my enjoyment and my annoyance with it, but it's pretty much an equal measure. For starters, it's always bad, and I shouldn't do this. Like, I decided to preview this episode by, like, listening to it at bedtime with my wife. So immediately when at the top when he's doing his monologue about why did I ever become a writer?
Right.
Why did I choose something so difficult? Why? My wife from the other side of the bed went, because writing is really easy.
It was so funny that he also got, and worse, I had to choose fiction, the hardest of all writing.
Where you can just make whatever you want up. But my wife is a choreographer and dancer, and we have this long-term sort of joke argument about the fact that dancers have to, like, go to class every day of their life and constantly be prepping, and a writer can get drunk and write a bunch of stuff and maybe sober up and do a little editing, but then, like, I'm done.
Right.
So that distracted me a little. And then as soon as Susie comes on, Adrian's like, is that Cindy Lou Who from The Grinch? And shortly after that, we fell asleep. But that was the extent of her commentary.
I would be so happy to hear the Susie spin-off episodes.
The voice is a little much, and then I realized, that's perfect old-time radio differentiation voice.
Yeah.
I will tell you the thing that has been nagging me, and I'm certain that if either of you know the answer, you're going to lie and say that you don't. But that concept of, I've got a mailbox and I go and get these letters from there and it sort of leads me on some sort of story or adventure is not straight out. It's not like it's taken from this, but it reminds me of some 1990s softcore Skinamax or Showtime series. I don't know if it's Red Shoe Diaries, something like it. Yes, you're both convincingly looking at me with a blank face of like, I have no idea what you're speaking of.
I don't.
But what it was, and this really
Lovecraft.
has nothing to do with this show, was this guy just has like an ad in a not personals ad, a classified ads of like, hey, send me stories of your erotic adventures anonymously, and he would just.
Are you thinking Penthouse Forum?
It was a TV show. It's like Penthouse Forum, the TV show.
Okay.
And then that was the series of like he'd get these letters and read them and like, oh, this is this person had this thing, and I realize. I mean, I'm deep into this anecdote now with nothing to get me out of it.
Nope.
No, I'm fascinated.
But it clung to me of like, it is a starting point of stories that is so easy of like, hey, send me a letter, start me on an adventure, tell me a story, which when I first started listening to this show, I like, that's kind of a little disappointingly convenient.
Right.
But once I got going, I had a really good time. But I also was like, what was that 90s show that I can't think of the name of?
Freaks and Geeks.
Maybe Red Shoe Diaries? Anyways.
Was that the one with X-Files guy?
Yes, I think it was. David Duchovny?
Yes. I mean, I've never seen it. I just know he was in it.
He was in one, yes.
I want to clear something up before we move forward because people are writing angry emails to me. Sapper wrote the Bulldog Drummond books, not
yes.
the Richard Hannay books. But the reason I got it confused is Richard Hannay, the series, 30 Steps, all that, gave birth to Bulldog Drummond. It's very derivative and stolen. And then Bulldog Drummond, if you don't know this, James Bond was all based on Sapper's Bulldog Drummond and stolen from that. So that's how we ended up with Bond. So it was the middle ground.
Hopefully no one paused the podcast and sent the angry email.
Yeah. It wasn't Sapper. I can't remember the name. Anyway, I just want to make sure I got that out there.
So it was Red Shoe Diaries. And that ran from 1992 to 1987.
Wait, 92 to 1987?
97.
Oh, okay. That makes
in that
sense.
space of time,
I'd watch it if it did that.
he was in the X-Files and appeared on Eek the Cat as Fox Mulder. So, Box 13.
Wow.
Wow. I don't even remember Box 13 anymore. What happened?
Well, one thing that bugged me when I was listening to it, that when we got to like, oh, this is the first episode, it made me appreciate it, was that idea of like, he got to a point of like, you are set up. You are so being set up. I can't believe you don't see you're being set up, especially as a writer. But it was self-conscious about it of, okay, this is what happens, and oh, I've been set up. Right. But to be the first episode, it made me appreciate of, I like seeing a character make mistakes early days.
And he says, I've written a dozen stories like this, and this is the point where the hero always realizes he's set up.
Yes.
Which I think I agree with everything you said, but also I'm like, dude, you have gone to all this work. You've placed this ad, and you are basically admitting that all it's gotten you is cliches that you've already written.
So what you're saying is you forgive his naiveness.
Yes.
Because he...
In the sense of like assuming that there's some sort of arc to this run, which maybe there's not, but
maybe there's not. I know this, that I want to listen to more.
I had that response too when he sat down with Carla and she's telling him why she sent him a letter, and she's saying, I have been the victim of blackmail, and he's like, whoa, that's a job for the police. And I'm like, what happened to Adventure Wanted? We'll go anyplace, do anything. Like, what is your definition of
I
adventure?
meant Red Shoe Diaries stuff, lady.
I will say that it took me a while to realize that she was double-crossing him. I think maybe I wanted to believe that she was being blackmailed and he was there to help.
For me, I think when you get handed a gun from someone else
under the table,
yeah,
that's Han Solo. That's how he killed the other guy.
He didn't hand him the gun.
No, but he had the gun under. That's what I thought of when I.
Makes sense of like, I've got a gun for you under the table. Don't grab by the trigger. Oh, Greedo, you shot yourself.
Greedo, you would of course know who the other person was.
Greedo reached first.
I'm sorry, but Eek the Cat is the farther reach for me.
Yeah.
I've heard one or two other episodes of Box 13, and this felt, and maybe it's me misremembering, but this felt far more for lack of a better term, film noir-y than others that I have heard. And it made me wonder, is this lad really leaning into what he is best known for, this Gun for Hire and Dahlia and all that stuff? Because this is just, it's a man walking down the city streets in the rain and an over-the-top femme fatale, her husky voice.
Yep.
And
I really liked the exchange of this beautiful woman talking to a writer, although I didn't know she was beautiful and she didn't know I was a writer.
Right.
Yes. There are a lot of great lines. Like, one of my favorites is covering the opening of a manhole, which is just a great joke. That's like, wow, that's film noir-y, but also kind of a dad joke at the same time.
Right.
That is a slam dunk that you can pull off both. Another great line is when he's talking to the manager at the flop house, where the manager says, any particular exposure you'd like? The less, the better. It's great stuff. But that leads me to one of the things I really liked about this episode, that nonplussed quality that Dan Holliday has.
Yes.
Right, about all this. And that's pretty typical, right? He's a tough guy. He's a film noir stereotype. But also how nonplussed everyone he meets, because that flop guy's then like, the rate is $25. Unless you did commit the murder, then it's $50. So he knows that he's suspected of murder, and he just presents it as this opportunity. And the same thing when the cabbie picks him up again. He's
everybody is willing to help him.
Your face is on the front page. They all have this same super cool attitude about all this potential murder going on.
The cabbie, I like to, well, there's 2 cop cars, so where do you want to go?
Right. I'm going to help you out.
Or if he wants to get dropped off with the cops, he would have done that too.
I really liked that he ended up with helpers.
Yeah.
Like people that were willing to be associates of
but
his
they were to the
crime.
extent of, it's this other guy's friend that eventually, is able to get him off the hook.
And that's where I began to be disappointed by the script. I feel like there is where he shows up to meet Mr. Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I'm the guy who's been paying the blackmail bills, and I am here to give you this information that will help you solve the case. And I mean, if I were going to do that armchair rewrite, I would add something exciting or some sort of action sequence after he discovers that photo. I will forgive the friend giving him the convenient information that sends him back to the apartment because he realizes, oh, that was Carla's apartment, not Harry, the victim's apartment. But I was half expecting when he finds that picture of her and the bartender, I guess who turns out to be her husband, who's in on the whole scam, I was expecting him to turn around and there he would be looming over him for some sort of tense fight sequence. But it all becomes summary after that point. Given the type of show it is, it's not a very exciting climax to discover a photo.
Yes.
So that would be my critique of it as a piece of drama.
I agree with that. I agree that the ending, it kind of peters out. I just became enamored with the style of it.
I agree.
The character work, the performance of it, and the premise of it, I think is really cool. And I really enjoyed that episode. Also, why has there not been a professional wrestler named Mr. Deus Ex Machina? Think of the fun in a match between 2 wrestlers, and then Mr. Deus Ex Machina just enters and pins them both. Like you never know what episode he was going to show up in and solve everything.
It's a fantastic idea. I have no arguments.
Fantastic idea. Mexican spanking wrestler.
Eric, I think you've gotten a little off topic. Please.
Oh, yeah.
Can we get back to the Red Shoe Diaries?
Well, are there any other thoughts on this? I've made mine abundantly clear. Should we send it to a vote, sir?
Sure.
I want to do this on stage. Have I mentioned that? I really want to do this on stage. I'm going to listen to more. I'll find out if they're any good. But this one stands the test of time. I love the premise. Not a classic. I really had a great time. And it was just a really nice, adventure-y mystery.
Yeah, I liked it. And when I learned that this was the first episode of the series, I liked it even more as a sort of proof of concept of this is what's going to be. This is the character doing this for the first time. I think it's a good pilot for a series that based on this is very promising.
Yeah, we'll see, because I'm listening to them all tonight.
I agree with Tim. I forgive a certain number of flaws in the first episode. And I agree with you both that this has a great lead that makes you want to hear more. And it has a premise that is not just solid, but it suggests that you can have a really wide variety of stories within a certain genre aesthetic. You have some versatility. You don't necessarily feel like you're going to tune in every week and hear the exact same kind of story. And that seems promising. Yeah, so I think it definitely stands the test of time. It has to, because it's been rebooted as a comic book in 2010. Right. So we can't say otherwise. So clearly it's an appealing concept. I forgot to mention this. I love Alan Ladd, but there is that one really bizarre line reading, and I think it's the very last line. Yeah, it's the way he says goodnight to Susie at the end that has this really almost serial killer. He's like, good night, Susie. Like, wait, what? Is he hitting on her, threatening her?
That's
he
the
has some
premise of
indigestion.
He terrifies Susie for the next 2 years in these episodes. I find it really sad how hard Ladd tried to get this remade in many different ways, because he's right. Mr. Ladd, you were right. This is a great premise that should have been a TV show, should have been a series, should have been something. Tim, tell him stuff.
Please go visit ghoulishdelights.com. That is the home of our podcast. You'll find other episodes there. But in addition, you can also vote in polls, leave messages, comments. Let us know what you think of these episodes. You can also link to our social media pages. You can also link to our Threadless store and get some swag for your mysterious old radio swag needs. And you can link to our Patreon page.
Yes, go to patreon.com/themorals. where you can support this podcast. And as I have mentioned the last couple of weeks, we are coming up on a Patreon pledge drive. But don't let that chase you away. Our pledge drive is actually exciting, unlike public radios. Whoa! Yeah, I'm throwing down. Come at me, public radio. We are going to have all sorts of extra content, not less. Public radio. We are going to be listening to a Johnny Dollar serial. I can reveal this week that we will be actually releasing some of our original material so that you, as potential patrons, can hear some of our performances. So you can go, hey, maybe I do want to support these guys, so I get to hear these performances every single month. So please go to patreon.com/themorals and support this podcast now, or wait a couple weeks and you'll see what you're missing.
If you'd like to see us performing live, the Mysterious Old Radio Listening Society Theater Company does audio theater, live recreations of classic old-time radio shows, and a lot of our own original work. And coming up very soon, we'll be doing The First Letter from Box 13. If I have my way. If you'd like to see what we're performing this month and where we're performing, just go to ghoulishdelights.com, the home of this podcast, and also mysteriousOldRadioListeningSociety.com. There you'll see what we're performing, where we're performing. You can, if you're in the area, which right now, fall of 2022, we are at the Bryant Lake Bowl Theater in Uptown Minneapolis. Please, we'd love to see you and hang out with you. If you can't, then if you're a Patreon, you get to see the shows because we record them for our Patreons. So that's another perk. Patreons, you don't have to drive to Minneapolis to see us perform live.
But extra bonus points if you do.
Yeah, we've had that happen. We had some people fly in from all corners of the world.
Mainly
a couple times.
The United States.
Yeah, the United States. All corners of the tri-state area.
Adjacent states.
What's coming up next?
Next, we kick off our Patreon pledge drive with the 5-part Johnny Dollar serial, The McCormick Matter. Until then... Look out!
I want to do this on stage. Have I mentioned that?